officer, lawyer, vicars and priests and all the rest of it over 14 years. And the police, it's in a place called Aberdeen, in the north east of Scotland, in an area called the Grampian region, which is infamous for Satanism and paedophilia, I can tell you. Scotland's a major world centre for all of this stuff. It's not called the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry for nothing, the biggest secret society in the world. And this girl, Holly Gregg, when she started to bring this out, the Grampian police refused to investigate it. The procurator fiscal, the person that decides if a prosecution is going ahead, a lady called Elish Angiolioni, refused to take it forward. She's now since become the Lord Advocate of Scotland, the top legal person in Scotland. She has refused at that level to let the case go forward to court and be investigated. And now we have had, over the last few days, a journalist called Robert Green, who's been helping the family and exposing it and getting the evidence together, who went up to Aberdeen late last week, and he was going to stand for Parliament on this single issue of what has happened to Holly Gregg and the way the establishment in Scotland has raped and treated her. And incidentally, this Scottish paedophile satanic establishment was served by a man called Thomas Hamilton, who was the guy who killed 16 children when he took 4 guns into Dunblane Primary School many years ago and blew them away. He was a Freemasonic paedophile and procurer of children for this Scottish elite. Famous people you see on the news all the time and running courts and what have you. And he was arrested when he went there last week just to talk about this case and the evidence he had. He was held over the weekend, put in court on Monday, bailed on a charge of breach of the peace, which in Scotland is much wider. And basically, if anyone's going to be upset, then you're in a breach of the peace. Talk about political correctness as personified in a law. And he's been bailed to appear again later and gagged from speaking about this case. His video on YouTube is being taken down, all different aspects of it, very, very, very quickly. And if people go into my website, they can read the whole story. And what I'm saying is that this pedophile satanic network is operating in Scotland, and it goes out right into the Scottish government, right into the Westminster government, right into the British government. And because these different rings, these national pedophile satanic rings, connect into other rings, exactly the same thing is happening in America, in North America, in Canada, in the United States. Everywhere you go, you see the same pattern. Australia is a major, major center of pedophilia and Satanism. And you always find that the key people in the establishment, whenever you investigate them, Alex, you go down the road of one thing leads to another. It always leads to pedophilia and Satanism. And I'm sure Father George Bush will confirm that.
So, and again, we have the mainstream news articles out of Scotland that anyone that tries to even go speak in public is being arrested. They're saying disturbing the peace. I mean, is there no free speech in the UK?
Well, there's this law firm called Levy and McRae in Edinburgh who's representing this Lord Advocate of Scotland, Elish Angiolioni. And why is a law firm representing her? She's the top legal person in Scotland, for goodness sake. Make a statement, woman. We have a situation where there's a classic murder involved in this, Alex. Indeed, what we're talking about today in terms of cover-ups and everything. Holly Gregg's uncle, her mother's brother, he died in an alleged car fire in 1997. And the authorities, these same Grampian authorities that we're looking at, they said, he died of smoke inhalation because he died in a car fire and probably suicide. They've now got hold of the post-mortem report and found that he was bashed severely around the skull before he died. He'd got 2 broken ribs, a broken breastbone. He had whiskey forced down his throat, and he hated whiskey. He wouldn't drink it. And there were signs in the post-mortem. The post-mortem said of a pickaxe shaft being used. And the authorities in the Grampian said, oh, it was smoke inhalation. We now know that's a lie. And Holly Gregg told her mother that her uncle, this guy who was clearly murdered and covered up, had actually walked in and found Holly's father having sex with her and went crazy. And shortly after, this guy ends up in a car fire. And that wasn't investigated by the police in Grampian or the law enforcement people in Grampian, a number of which have been named by Holly Gregg as her abusers. So this is an extreme
But, David,
story,
I don't understand.
But it's happening everywhere, Alex. This is going on all over the world every day.
But I mean, that's why I don't understand, because this is in some of the Scottish major newspapers that they're saying this, and there have been these cases, and then lawyers and people that are involved and supporters go into a city and it says they're arrested for no reason? I mean...
Well, exactly. But, you know, the BBC, they approached Holly Gregg and her mother, and they started to do a major documentary on BBC Scotland, BBC Radio Scotland, and one of the major current affairs strands in Britain called Panorama and the BBC. It was all going well. They were getting their evidence together. The person who was running the documentary said, we found a lot more evidence of paedophilia of other people in Scotland, other people that are being abused in the same way. The reporter said this is a report that's going to go around the world when this comes out. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the reporter calls Robert Greene and says, we can't run the story because we've been threatened that if we do anything more on this or investigate any more paedophilia in Scotland by the establishment, we're all going to be sacked. So there is a massive cover-up. And, you know, when you look at the Franklin cover-up in Omaha, Nebraska with John W. DeCamp and all that story, when you look at that, it takes on exactly the same theme and background as what's being uncovered now in Scotland, because, you know, it's a blueprint, Alex, and it operates everywhere, and the scum needs to come to the top so we can see it, and it is coming. It is
Well,
coming.
David, you're over in England. You're over, you know, close to Scotland. I don't really know anything about this case. I just saw it in the news and then noticed that you'd been reporting and talking about it. And overall, though, we do have the Washington Times and other publications about the hundreds of visits of top gay prostitutes, madams. We have reporters that turn out to be madams, hundreds of midnight visits. And it seems to be a Republican thing, though Democrats seem to be involved. We have all the orgies going on at Bohemian Grove that mainstream publications have reported. You know, Chad Savage, the top gay porn star, you know, they hire porn stars for each person who are their, quote, valets. And, I mean, it just shows, I guess this is a guild of people. I mean, is this like, say, an East Side gang in Austin or South Side gang in L.A., the meaner the gang, or to get higher level, you got to mug somebody, kill an old lady, burn down a house. It gets worse and worse. And they say they do that so that you're compromised. I mean, is that what this is all about? Or
well, Alex, there's two reasons for it. And by the way, while it's in my mind, you know, Holly Gregg is Down syndrome. Now, people will find this hard to believe, but it's absolutely true. Raping and having sex with Down syndrome children is considered a big thing to do within the pedophile satanic network. So sick are they. And there's actually a big underground child porn video industry involving Down syndrome people. It's unbelievable. There's two basic reasons for it. One's very deep. It's to do with energy. It's to do, on one level, with vampiring the energy of children. There's something about the energy pre-puberty that these people want. And during the act of sex, they're sucking the energy, that prepubescent energy, out of the child. That's one level of it, but there are many other reasons. But one is, as you say, first of all, I've used this word, it's the cement that holds it together. Well, what it is in two ways. First of all, it creates this, everyone's dependent on everyone else, because everyone knows about everyone else. And then there's the fear, if you want to get out and you don't want to do what they say in terms of political, banking, business decisions, etc., that you ain't got a way out, mate, because if you want to get out, okay, fine, but this will be in the post to somebody. people in servitude to the masters who run the operation. And so I'm not kidding you. If people think this is extreme, the